Hi, Cécile. I'm very pleased to talk with you today about what you do. I went to your website for Speak4Impact.net, and under your name it says International Presentation Skills Trainer Speaker. So before we go deeper into what you do exactly, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself, your background, what did you study? Tell me.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, Karine. So my name is Cécile Bastien-Rémy. I am a French national, and there are three things that people should know about me. I work and live and breathe with the topic of resilience. So resilience is something very important for me. I'm extremely curious, and I'm also creative. I love creativity. My academic background is actually fairly irrelevant to what I do right now. However, there was a life event that happened to me when I was 21 years old, and what I do right now is tightly linked to that event. At 21 years old, I had a car crash that left me disfigured, disabled, and actually also heartbroken. I lost someone really dear in the car crash. Disfigured when you're 21 years old means that when you get out of the hospital, out into the world, you are automatically having to face the new reality of how you look by the way people see you. And one of the experiences I had was to be called a monster. And that really stayed with me.
You were someone else.
It was somebody else. I mean, it was on a car park. And I passed by. It was just, very quickly after I left the hospital. And yes, I was still, imagine when you have like 28 hours of surgery on your face, how you look. I mean, it was all bruised. I still had my teeth linked with one another. My face was really swelled up. I was extremely thin. I mean, I'm quite tall, but I was really, really thin. And the color of my skin was yellow, and everything, when you're completely bruised up, this is what you see. And that completely killed my self-confidence.
It's horrible what you went.
But, life doesn't, you can't stop your life because of that. So, eventually I recovered so much so that I could function as an adult. So I started to have a career. I started in Edinburgh, Scotland, because that's after my very short study in France, where I studied commerce and marketing. I thought, well, I can't do anything in the world if I don't speak English. So I decided to move to Edinburgh, Scotland, and it just happened that it was just after my car crash. It was literally a couple of weeks after. But there I learned English, and there was really, for me, that culture gave me an open door to opportunities. I could do pretty much everything I wanted. Now, completely by accident, I started to sell financial databases and risk management software. And, I felt that I was successful with my work. Life, took its own course, and eventually 10, 15 years later, I ended up in Geneva. And that's when I started tapping into the communication industry there.
How is that? I mean, how did you end up in communication?
There was this, I just had my first baby girl, and there was this advertisement where somebody was looking for a salesperson. And I've done sales pretty much all of my life. But this one I thought really triggered my attention. It was about selling promotional items to help companies to brand themselves. So that was an interesting job, because your role as a supplier, but also as a consultant, what should work for the companies that had a budget to produce promotional items.
And then you moved to Zurich, right?
I know, well, just a little bit outside Zurich. So I followed my husband.
Did you speak any German?
I'm ashamed to say no, and I still struggle. It's quite a challenging language. When I moved there, I felt that because of the language, I'm not going to be able to go back to something, an employee type of job. I have something that I don't have, that companies will need, the language, the German language. Yet, I knew that there was something that I could offer. And with a group of friends, we put together a project, a book, a publishing project called Grüezi Newcomer. And it was publishing 2 guidebooks, so one in 2009 and another one in 2012. And it was over 15 different chapters. We made recommendations of tested and approved addresses on the topic of, education, finding a new job, how to settle in Switzerland, having walks. I mean, it was just really varied. But that was the target audience was the expats around the Lake Zurich. And it was a success. Very useful. Absolutely. Even to understand the culture, the Swiss culture that was paramount. So that was my first big dive into the world of communication.
And because of this book, you ended up on a stage, right?
Absolutely. And it was quite a gruesome moment, I have to say. So I even remember, the date. It was the 3rd of October, 2012. And for the little anecdote as well, I just stopped smoking 3 days before that.
Bravo.
Okay. Since I haven't touched a cigarette. So thumbs up on that. But yeah, I mean, somehow what I told you before about, looking at what people think and the perception that what others have of me, the monster stigma just came full blast. I mean, full blast. I had panic attack there on stage. I got really emotional. My speech was not well built. I mean, I didn't prepare enough. So everything that could go wrong went wrong. I even had a stutter, I think, at some point I couldn't get rid of. I completely bombed. But, and there is a big but, because even in that gruesome, fairly negative moment where my worst nightmare happened, it was also my wildest dream. When I was on stage, I felt this is home. This is where I should be. And that's what's happening now.
That's the moment when you became the new you, right?
It was some sort of, the rebirth. Okay, and that's what I do now. It's everything about communication. This is my job, this is my life, this is my passion. I'm a corporate trainer on the topic of communication. I'm a speech coach. I've also teach applied communication as a faculty member, and I am also a conference speaker.